Om. Om Brahmanandam Paramasukadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dvandvatitam Gagana Sadrisham Tattvamasyadilaksham Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadhi Sakshibhutam Bhavatitam Trigunarahitam Satgurum Tam Namami Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Padam Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryankaravavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Chaiva Tato Jayamudirayet. Jai Gurudev.
Jai Gurudev. Om Shri Paramatmane Namaha. Shri Bhagavanu Vacha Maya Sattamana Partha Yogam Yunjanmat Maya Sattamana Partha Yogam Yujjanmadashrayah Asamshayam Samagram Mam Yatha Gnyasasi Tachrunu Jnanam teham savijnanam midam vakshamya sheshatah yajgyatva gneha bhuyonyat jnatavyam avashishyate manushyanam sahasreshu kashyatati siddhaye yatataamapi siddhanam kashinma veti tatvatah Bhumirapo nalo vayuhu kham vano buddhirev cha ahamkara iti yamme bhinna prakrutirashtadha apareyamitastvanyam prakrutim vidhi me param jiva bhutam mahabaho yayedam dharyate jagat एतद्योनीनि भूतानि सर्वाणीत्युपधारय अहं कृत्स्नस्य जगतः प्रभवः प्रलयस्तथा मत्तः परतरं नान्यत् किञ्चिदस्ति धनञ्जय मयि सर्वमिदं प्रोतं सूत्रे मणिगणा इव रसोऽहमप्सु कौन्तेय प्रभास्मि शशिसूर्ययोः प्रणवः सर्ववेदेषु शब्दः खे पौरुषं नृषु पुण्यो गन्धः पृथिव्यां च तेजश्चास्मि विभावसौ जीवनं सर्वभूतेषु तपश्चास्मि तपस्विषु बीजं मां सर्वभूतानां विद्धि पार्थ सनातनम बुद्धिर्बुद्धिमताम् अस्मि तेजस्तेजस्विनामहम् बलं बलवतां चाहं कामरागविवर्जितं धर्माविरुद्धो भूतेषु कामोऽस्मि भरतर्षभ ये चैव सात्विका भावा राजसास्तामसाश्रये मत्त एवेति तान् विद्धि न त्वहं तेषु ते मयि त्रिभिगुणैर्मयैर्भावैः एहि सर्वमिदं जगत् मोहितं नाभिजानाति मामेभ्यः परमव्ययम् दैवी ह्येषा गुणमयी मम माया दुरत्यया मामेव ये प्रपद्यन्ते मायामेतां तरन्ति ते न मां दुष्कृतिनो मूढाः प्रपद्यन्ते नराधमाः मायया पहृतज्ञाना आसुरं भावमाश्रिताः चतुर्विद्या भजन्ते मां जनाः सुकृतिनोऽर्जुन आर्तो जिज्ञासुरर्थार्थी ज्ञानी च भरतर्षभ तेषां ज्ञानी नित्ययुक्त एकभक्तिर्विशिष्यते प्रियो हि ज्ञानिनोत्यर्थम् अहं स च मम प्रियः उदारा सर्व एवैते ज्ञानी त्वात्मैव मे मतम् आस्थितः स हि युक्तात्मा मामेवानुत्तमां गतिम् बहूनां जन्मनामन्ते ज्ञानवान् मां प्रपद्यते वासुदेव सर्वमिति स महात्मा सुदुर्लभः कामैस्तैस्तैर्हृतज्ञानाः प्रपद्यन्तेऽन्यदेवताः तं तं नियममास्थाय प्रकृत्या नियता स्वया यो यो यां यां तनुं भक्तः श्रद्धयार्चितुमिच्छति तस्य तस्याचलां श्रद्धां तामेव विदधाम्यहम् सतया श्रद्धया युक्तस्तस्याराधनमीहते लभते च ततः कामान्यैव विहितान् हितान् I think we were in verse 21, right? I will just browse through the text. Whoever be the devotee and in whichever form of a devata he wishes to worship with faith, indeed that same faith I make firm for him. I repeat, whoever be the devotee and in whichever form of a devata he wishes to worship with faith, indeed, that same faith I make firm for him. Yah bhaktaha. Whoever be the devotee, whether he be an artha, a devotee in distress, or an artharthi, someone who wants help from his accomplishments. Yam tanum, whichever particular form, shraddhaya architum ichchati. He desires to worship with faith. I make that faith unshakable. So says Bhagavan. Bhakta here is a person whose primary concern is fulfilling his desires. But because he has Shraddha, he is devotee rather than a simple kami. This restricts the meaning of Bhakta to an Artha and an Artharthi. He will invoke the Lord in a particular form, Tanu, according to his Shraddha, but because he does not see that Vasudeva is everything, he propitiates a particular aspect of the Lord and performs a specific ritual invoking that form of Deva. With Shraddha, he desires to worship or to praise a particular form of Devata. According to his understanding, he may insist that this is the only form of the Lord. He may accommodate other forms of worship. The Lord himself establishes a devotee's Shraddha. The Lord says, Tasya achalam shraddham vidadhami aham. The important thing here is Shraddha. Earlier, Krishna had said that the one who has Shraddha gains knowledge of the identity of the individual and Ishvara. Shraddhavan labhate jnanam. Chapter 4, verse 39. In this verse, he says, whatever Shraddha he now has, that I make it firm, unshakable for him. Satya achalam shraddham vidadhami aham. For the one whose Shraddha manifests as a worship of a particular Devata for a particular result, I make his Shraddha firm. How? By giving the results. Suppose someone performs a particular ritual and he does not get the promised result, then his Shraddha will quickly disappear. I make sure that it does not by giving the results. They are doing karmas for which results are to be given. That result I give. Even though they are worshipping only a fraction of me, even though they do not worship me totally, still I make firm whatever Shraddha they have. I am available in the particular form of Devata that they invoke. No Devata is separate from me, but I am more than these Devatas. The difficulty is that these devotees think that this particular Devata is Ishvara, but I do not disturb that at all. I give them results only according to their Shraddha. If I were to interfere and tell them, I am you, it would not help because they are not ready for it. Even if the Lord appears before such people, they will ask for a promotion. They already have a certain firmness in their Shraddha. I make it more firm by giving the result. This he tells in the next verse. If you want me to read anything, repeat, please let me know before we proceed to the next verse. Just 2 seconds, sir. तया श्रद्धया युक्तस्तस्याराधनमीहते लभते च ततः कामान् मय्यवविहितान् हितान्. There are 2 different ways of reading the second line of this verse as given below. Maya eva vihitan hitan kaman labhate. Another, Maya eva vihitan hitan kam. Maya eva vihitan. I will just read. Maya eva vihitan hitan kaman labhate. Saha, he, taya shraddhaya, with that faith, yuktaha, being endowed, tasya, of that form of devata, aradhanam, worship, ihate, he engages in, cha, and tatah, from that worship devata, maya eva, by me alone, vihitan, ordained, he, because definitely, tan kaman, those objects, labhate, he gains. I read the first way of explaining. Saha taya shraddhaya yuktaha tasya aradhanam ihate cha tatah maya eva vihitan hi tan kaman labhate. Another, Maya eva, by me alone, vihitan, ordained, kshamyatam, vihitan, ordained, hitan kaman, those desired objects, labhate, he gains. Saha Taya Shraddhaya Yuktaha Tasya Aradhanam Tataha Maya Eva Vihitan Hitan Kaman Labhate. Here in the second reading, Hitan Kaman will mean very desirable objects. He who endowed with that faith engages in worship of that Devata, gains from that Devata he has worshipped those objects of desire that are definitely ordained by me alone. I repeat, he who endowed with that faith engages in worship of that Devata, gains from that Devata he has worshipped those objects of desire that are definitely ordained by me alone. And the second way of reading, he who endowed with that faith engages in worship of that Devata, gains from that Devata he has worshipped the very desirable objects of the desire that are ordained by me. I repeat, he who endowed with that faith engages in worship of that Devata, gains from that Devata he has worshipped the very desirable objects of desire that are ordained by me. So the beauty of Sanskrit language can be seen here. It is so well. Hitan, hitan, and here hitan kan. This he is combined with, so the meaning is so beautifully explained in two ways. A devotee worships with Shraddha. Yah, Kshamitam, Saha Yuktah Taya Shraddhaya. This is a person endowed with Shraddha in the Veda, which promises a particular result for a given ritual. A given means is capable of producing a given result, and the connection between them is permanent. This is the order, the law of karma, which is Ishvara. How do we know these various means and ends are connected? When you perform a ritual, what is its concern? Connection to a sun or the rains, etc. This connection is revealed in the Shastra, which is given by Ishvara. Shraddha means the acceptance of that connection. If I do this, this will happen. Therefore, I do this. This is the Shraddha of the person spoken of here. Then he engages in worship of that form of Devata with this Shraddha. Tasya Aradhanam ihate. Ihate. Tasya Aradhanam ihate. He gets the results from Ishvara. Labhate cha tatah kaman. From that Devata, he gains those objects of his desire. Kama can mean both the desire and the object of desire. Here it means the desired objects. Tatah, from that, means from the Devata whom he has worshipped. And Krishna says here that the Devata this person has worshipped is nothing but himself. The Lord says, Maya eva vihitan hitan. By me alone, the results of their worship are ordained. People perform rituals or offer prayers with Shraddha and obtain the results. These results are determined by me, the Lord, but they think they come from the Devata that they worship. They don't recognize Ishvara, but it doesn't matter. The prayer has given the result, and therefore the Shraddha becomes more firm. Next time, the prayer will be better in order to get a better result until there is a maturity in the understanding. The first reading is Tan Vihitan Kaman Labhate Hi. They gain those ends because they are ordained by me. Here, he means because. It is all arranged by Parameshwara, who is omniscient and therefore knows that this karma has precisely this result. Everything that is done is taken into account. So we sometimes see sorry. They don't recognize Ishvara, but it doesn't matter. The prayer has given the result, and therefore the Shraddha becomes more firm. Next time, the prayer will be better in order to get a better result until there is a maturity in the understanding. The second paragraph, the first reading is Tan Vihitan Kaman Labhate Hi. They gain those ends because they are ordained by me. Here, he means because. It is all arranged by Parmeshwara, who is omniscient and therefore knows that this karma has precisely this result. Everything that is done is taken into account. So, we sometimes see different results for the apparently same action. Two people may perform a ritual, Putra Kameshti, for the gain of a son. One has a beautiful son who is very bright and healthy. The other has a son born with poor eyesight. This means that in the performance of the ritual by the second person, there was some problem. He did get a son, but there was some omission or commission in the ritual, and the results have to be given only according to the karma performed. Both of them did the same ritual, but one did it better than the other. So he gets a better result. Who is to decide all this? Shankara says here that the one who is omniscient, the Lord, gives the result. He can also mean definitely. A given means produces a given result, and there are degrees of results because there are variations both in how the ritual is performed and the person's knowledge of what he is doing. How much one understands. Kindly mute yourself if kindly mute yourself if by mistake you have unmuted, please. Dhanyavad. He can also mean definitely. A given means produces a given result, and there are degrees of results because there are variations both in how the ritual is performed and the person's knowledge of what he is doing. How much one understands when performing a ritual also determines the nature of the result. All these conditions, including his attitude when giving the gifts, affect the result. If he had a sense of loss, that affects the result because one is supposed to give with a full heart, with the feeling that he could not have given more. A person's Shraddha, his knowledge, and the mode of performance are all in different degrees, and these determine the result. So each one gets exactly what he must. Here, he has the meaning of definitely, necessarily. These are the meanings if we read the words as follows. Vihitan, he, tan. Here the words he and tan have been read separately as two words instead of hitan as one word. In the second reading, it is read together as one word, hitan. In that case, the statement would be Maya eva vihitan hitan kaman labhate. Here, these results are desirable ends, kamas that are hita, good for you, hitan kaman. Shankara cautions here that they are not totally desirable because kama is never really desirable, hita. Desires and desirable objects which are other than ourselves are not what is good for us. They cause pain when they are unfulfilled. Even when they are fulfilled, they ultimately come to an end and cause grief. They have limitations, so they are not hita, the most desirable. I will read
Can you
once
just
again.
repeat that? Yeah, repeat
Yeah,
that
yeah,
once again.
there was breaking of voice. Shall I read both the paragraph or only the last?
The last paragraph, yeah.
Okay. In the second reading, it is read together as one word, hitan. In that case, the statement would be Maya Maya eva vihitan hitan kaman labhate. Here, these results are desirable ends, kamas that are hita, good for you, hitan, kaman. Shankara cautions here that they are not totally desirable because kama is never really desirable, hita. Desires and desired objects, which are other than ourselves, are not what is good for us. I repeat this line. Desires and desired objects, which are other than ourselves, are not what is good for us. They cause pain when they are unfulfilled, and even when they are fulfilled, they ultimately come to an end and cause grief. They have limitations, so they are not hita, the most desirable. Krishna elaborates this in the next verse. So, in the verse 22, Bhagavan said in two ways that whatever, if even if you have worshipped me with some desire, putra kameshti, or for some animals, or for any desire, I give the results to strengthen our Shraddha. But then Shankaraji is describing that any desire other than ourselves is always painful. So it is not worth having. Anyone would like to share? Kindly unmute and share. If you want me to read anything, please let me know before we go to the next verse.
So here it is described that a performance of a ritual, if there is any in the first interpretation, is if it is not done in the proper manner, the results will be accordingly. He gives the contrast between a person who does the Putra Kameshti Yaga correctly, he gets a proper healthy son, and the other one gets a son with a poor sight. So whenever these rituals are performed, they have to be followed. The order, the krama has to be followed. That is one aspect. That is for us to understand. Second is the second interpretation. Anyway, these karmas, any karma is painful because it's all in the limited sphere of anatma. So only those that are directed towards the self are are desired. All the others are actually not really. But even then, even that is given by Ishvara himself. And why should we take this that every ritual, the results are given only by Ishvara? Is because of the Shraddha. The Shraddha that Ishvara is the Karma Phala Data. He is the one who gives. Whether it is XYZ Devata you are propitiating, ultimately the results come from Ishvara himself. So when we were reading this, I was just thinking, even our daily manana that we're doing, the Bhagavad Gita, this is also a form of worship. This is the worship of a jignasu. So the results of this also will be according to. I was just relating to this. I mean, it's not a ritual, but then it is a worship itself. So the results of this also will be ordained by Ishvara as to how um, with what devotion and how well we do it.
That is so beautiful. Our focus, our attitude, everything matters.
Yeah.
Very nice.
And he says, he gives Shraddha, I increase his Shraddha in that, because by giving him the desired results, I increase his Shraddha. So he will perform it in a better way. And then till a time when he matures in his understanding. So that maturity of understanding is when his thinking process changes. That is what Nana had mentioned once before. So why are these rituals important? And yesterday also, I think we were discussing why we do Ganesha Puja and then Rudram and all that. So initially, you might do it for a desired result, for a limited desired result. But when your Shraddha in that keeps increasing, because what you're seeking for, you're getting, ultimately there will be a shift in his understanding, a change in his thinking process, saying, what is all this for? Who am I? What am I? What is Ishvara? Who is God? So this change of thinking happens, and then his focus will also change. From being an arthi and artharthi, he would gradually transform to becoming a jignasu. I think that is the evolution that happens.
Hmm.
See, because
Yes.
jnani is one who has dropped everything. A sannyasi, not a jnani. I mean, vividisha.
Yeah,
Vividisha
Gnani only,
sannyasi.
Brahmaraji. Jignasu
Jnani,
and Gnani. Yeah.
yeah, jnani, right? So the
Yeah, yeah.
sannyasi has renounced everything to the exclusion of following knowledge.
Hmm.
If you consider that Vividisha sannyasi, who still has not got the sannyas, the jnana, but then ultimately even he becomes a Vidvat sannyasi. So this evolution is beautiful. It is like a small child uh, wants a toy and he cries if he doesn't get it. But when he gets it, he's happy. And as he grows up, the same toy, even if it breaks, this person is not unhappy anymore. He That vairagya automatically happens. So on this path, now we are holding on to this knowledge. Ultimately, even knowledge, like it is said that even that the shabda also loses its the vritti jnana also it it drops, it dissolves, and you merge in the self. You recognize the self.
Hmm.
A beautiful journey.
Yeah. It is till we recognize the real Swarupa of us.
Yeah,
I just recall that story of that lion cub who was separated from his mother, and then it was with the, I think, sheep, the herd of sheep. And he forgot to roar, but until her lion one day, he showed him his reflection in the river, that who are you? You see, you are not a goat or a sheep, you are a lion. So
right.
until we recognize our own Swarupa, we continue to remain that meek, weak, Alpagnya. Antavatu phalam tesham tadbhavatyalpamedhasam devan devayajo yanti madbhakta yanti mamapi tu but alpamedhasam tesham, of those who have limited discrimination, tat phalam, that result, antavata, finite, having an end, bhavati is devayajah, those who worship the gods, devan, the gods, yanti, go to, mad bhaktaha, those who worship me, api, indeed, mam yanti, reach me. Tu alpamedhasam tesham tat phalam antavata bhavati devayajah devan yanti madbhaktaah api mam yanti. But for those who have limited discrimination, that result is finite. Those who worship the gods go to the gods. Those who worship me go to me indeed. I repeat, but for those who have limited discrimination, that result is finite. Those who worship the gods go to the gods. Those who worship me go to me indeed. For those of limited discrimination, the result is limited. Tesham alpa medasam. Alpa means a little. Medhas means capacity to think. So, Alpa Medhas is one who has a limited capacity to think, to inquire. Because they engage in such limited pursuits, they are Alpa Medhasa. Sorry. Because they engage in such limited pursuits, they are Alpa Medhasa. Here it specifically means the one who has limited viveka. They do have some viveka because they are devotees. They have dharma, adharma, viveka, and they recognize Ishvara in some form. But this is a limited viveka for those of alpamedhas. Tad phalam antavada bhavati. Kindly mute yourself if by mistake you have unmuted. Kindly mute yourself. Kindly mute yourself.
Yeah, I've muted them. I think let's all of us be a little aware and not get ourselves unmuted. Huh? It will disturb the whole flow. Thank you.
Tad phalam antavada bhavati. The result of all the karmas they do is antavata. Antavata means that which has an end. In terms of time, there is an end. Being a result, it will definitely perish. In terms of place, it is finite. Any result that takes you to another place is limited because in going to one place, another is missed. If a person goes to heaven, he doesn't go to other lokas such as Brahma Loka. Even in heaven, he will occupy a given position and enjoy only the benefits of that position. So, there is a limitation in terms of what is enjoyed. Some things are available for enjoyment, some are not. The degree of pleasure he will experience is again limited because of the limitation of the body he gets. And whatever be his enjoyment, it is only for a finite length of time. So, in every respect, the result is antavata, limited. For these people of limited discrimination, the result of worship is only finite. It has an end. Devan Deva Yajah Yanti. Because they worship various devatas or perform rituals invoking various deities, they are called Deva Yajah. Deva Yajah. As a result of such worship, they go only to those devas, Devan Yanti. They go to the world where the particular deity resides and become devatas, denizens of the heavens, etc. If one worships Indra, he goes to Indraloka and becomes another deva in that world, but that deva is still a jiva. I repeat,
Can you
there's a
repeat this whole thing once
yeah,
again,
yeah,
Leela?
yeah, yeah. Tad phalam antavada bhavati. The result of all the karmas they do is antavata. Antavata means that which has an end. In terms of time, there is an end. Being a result, it will definitely perish. In terms of place, it is finite. Any result that takes you to another place is limited because in going to one place, another is missed. If a person goes to heaven, he doesn't go to other lokas such as Brahma Loka. Even in heaven, he will occupy a given position and enjoy only the benefits of that position. So, there is a limitation in terms of what is enjoyed. Some things are available for enjoyment, some are not. The degree of pleasure he will experience is again limited because of the limitation of the body he gets. And whatever be his enjoyment, it is only for a finite length of time. So, in every respect, the result is antavata, limited. For these people of limited discrimination, the result of worship is only finite. It has an end. Devan Deva Yajah Yanti. Because they worship various devatas or perform rituals invoking various deities, they are called Deva Yajaha. As a result of such worship, they go only to those devas, Devan Yanti. They go to the world where the particular deity resides and become devatas, denizens of the heaven, etc. If one worships Indra, he goes to Indraloka and becomes another deva in that world. But that deva is still a jiva. I repeat, but that deva is still a jiva. Heaven is definitely a limited end, and this is the maximum one can get from karma. When they may find themselves employees in the palaces of the devas. But the devas themselves look up to Indra, who looks up to Brihaspati, who is his guru. These are all places, positions, and are therefore upadhis. Therefore, those who experience them are mere jivas. They have better powers, better sense perception, and a better capacity to enjoy. But it is all only for a given length of time. I repeat, they have better powers, better sense perception, and a better capacity to enjoy, but it is all only for a given length of time. Later, Krishna is going to say that when the punya that got them there is exhausted, they will leave that particular loka and enter another. Shine punye martya lokam vishanti. Those who seek Ishvara directly gain him. Mada bhaktaha mam apiyanti. Whereas those who seek me directly come to me, they become me. If they want to know what is Parmeshwara, what is this Atma, they become me because Parmeshwara is Atma. What was said before is confirmed here. They become Mahatmas who know that all this is Vasudeva. Vasudevaha Sarvam. There is only one Atma, which is me, and that they come to recognize as themselves. Thus, they come to me alone. So beautiful revelation by Bhagavan. I repeat the last paragraph. Those who seek Ishvara directly gain him. Mad bhaktaha mam apiyanti. Whereas those who seek me directly come to me, they become me. If they want to know what is Parameshwara, what is this Atma, they become me because Parameshwara is Atma. What was said before is confirmed here. They become Mahatmas who know that all this is Vasudeva. Vasudevaha Sarvam. There is only one Atma, which is me, and that they come to recognize as themselves. Thus, they come to me alone. So wonderful. So there is such a wonderful offer to become CEO directly, rather than going as per the on the ladder of this performing different kameshti yajnas and then going to different lokas. Here there is direct promotion once you know the Atma. So beautiful.
So through karma, the maximum punya that you can get is to go to heaven.
Hmm. And
Karma
that
is in
also gets
rituals.
exhausted.
Yeah, that is limited. Once that is limited, that is exhausted, you come back to the Martya Loka. So again, those two types of punya that we learned several verses ago. So one type of punya is when you do all this kamya karma and everything. You attain that. That has a limitation. It has an expiry date. It takes you to whichever loka and then you come back down again. Whereas the punya that you get by pursuing self knowledge, that is your actual dhana. That is the sadhana in the true sense. So that is what is going to keep you on this path, yoked to Him.
Yeah, that is so
Yeah,
wonderful.
Gurudev. But there's still a dilemma. Like we know all this, but still we are into the nitya naimitya karma. That sometimes that frustrates the mind.
No, but that is required. No, for us, we're all
Yeah.
jignasus, we're all karma yogis. So for us, we have to continue doing what we have to do. But it's only a shift in our attitude. We're not doing it for gaining punya to go to heaven. That is not what we want. That
Yes.
yamimam pushpitam vacham in the second chapter, we're not doing it for that. We're not doing it to get a better life next time. No. We're doing it with the attitude of antakarna shuddhi, that this is going to purify my mind. It's going to
Yeah, and
make
for
me
the
devoid of
gratitude
raga
also.
dvesha.
Yeah.
Attitude and out of gratitude. Yeah. So that
But
shift in the
sometimes,
attitude,
yeah, sometimes you think that in you are giving so much time to all these. Instead, if I can devote more time to gaining knowledge, so sometimes that
yeah,
dilemma occurs. Yeah.
that is fine. I mean, I think that's also a kind of part of your maturity, right? So slowly you will stop dropping. That's what Nana said. You will start dropping. Earlier, if your ritual was so important, then you can also do a manasika puja. If you're not able to do it in in the way you've always been doing it, there is this beautiful Shiva Manasa puja where you can do it sitting wherever. You don't need
Yeah,
actual flowers, you don't need actual diya, you don't need actual agarbatti and all that. That is there. You can do it mentally, and that is so satisfying. So
Yeah,
I
it
think
said
this
that
evolution
bhav,
happens. Yeah,
yeah,
it's the
bhav is
bhav which
Bhagwan.
matters. Yeah,
Bhav
yeah.
is Bhagwan. Yeah, right.
So I think that emotional maturity happens, and we don't give. Um, we're not that particular about it. As in, I don't know. I think that's what is going to happen. Wherein, see now, Gurudev, whenever he's in the ashram, every Monday there is Rudra Puja happening. He's there. When he came to Bahrain, 2016, there was a Monday, and I was very keen. Actually, went up and asked him, "Will you please will arrange everything for Rudra?" But he declined. He says because according to the country, the sensitivity, he said no. So the ability to let go, yet being in that space, I think will happen, isn't it? Because see, ultimately, all these are also part of that polishing aspect. You're polishing yourself more and more to get ultimately those two things, antakarana shuddhi and antakarana naishkalya.
Daishalya.
These are the two ends. And then, uh, so in order to do that, but even this, instead of saying, "Oh, I'm wasting my time," if you're able to do it with as like how China had mentioned, no. See, it doesn't mean you're pursuing knowledge only if you sit and read books. or read knowledge. Like a child, like a mother, he says, when the mother wakes up her child, she has this bhav that she's waking up Bhagavan. She's giving him a bath. She's giving Bhagavan a bath. So you include that Bhagavan in everything you do, that itself becomes a prayer. You're cooking, for instance, you're cooking and you're saying, oh, I'm doing this for Bhagavan.
Yeah, we do it, but sometimes thought arise, like you do it with full gratitude and you do with all shraddha, but after some days a thought comes like uh, like you're doing this, it's a mundane like thing you are doing continuously, but at times a thought arises, like I don't know, like
Yeah, it's a very good question, Dr. Savita. I think we'll park this and request Nana to come one of these days, and maybe we can ask him. I think it's better we get some clarity from him.
yes, thank you.
Is it part of our dispassion which is normally developing, or is it coming out of maybe a bit of frustration, or is it coming out of a doubt? Is all this going to help? So I don't know. I think it's better we get this clarification from him.
Can also come from our food, no? It affects our gunas. And that's where I come back to Bhagavad Gita, Yukta Hara Viharasya.
Yeah, yeah. So I think what Dr.
Absolutely
Savita is
true.
mentioning, what she's mentioning is you're following everything, you're doing everything according to your food and everything. But in spite of that, there comes a time when you think, oh, well, what am I doing? I think that's part of emotional, as I see it, it's part of emotional maturity. See, between my father and mother, my mother is into rituals. She does all the daily puja and everything. My father, he he goes to the altar, he prays, and then he does his chanting and all that. For him, it's a different aspect. For my mother, if she does not do her daily puja, she thinks something is getting, it's not complete. But my father is able to let go of that. He's not holding on to it. So I think this part, uh, the emotional, that change in our thinking happens. I think that is what it is. Ultimately, even japa that we do, japa also is a limited thing. It's a karma, isn't it? It is only to purify your mind, to get your mind into that one single thought.
Yeah, as we gain this knowledge, the more and more we know what is really the truth, and then we can narrow it down to, what what is necessary to be done, right? But
Yeah,
then,
that is
as
true.
you said, like we to get there, we are. I mean, at least I'm not there yet. So we want to have this antakarna shuddhi and getting our mind and senses control. That we have to still do all these things. Like when you see all these sannyasi or the monks it takes for them like 10, 12 years to really get to the place where they want to get. It doesn't happen overnight, right? Like sorry. And so we even see some growth from last year to this year, but then getting this, doing this regularly, and I wish I had all day time in the day to do this, but then we only have so much time given in a given day, to do certain things that we want to do, or read it and then do the puja or whatever we need to do, like meditation, japa and all that, and then the exercise, food preparation, and sleeping, all these things also have to happen in the meantime in your work and whatnot. So I think at least we are really fortunate to do all these things. That's what I think. Hopefully, we'll get there.
For certain, Dr. Mara, all this is a result of grace. All of us, each one of us here, has done some punya. I am not talking of the punya that is probably even that punya ultimately changes our understanding, our maturity, and
Yeah.
therefore we are here. See, this group has about 150 plus people in the group, in the WhatsApp group. But how come it is only a handful that are here? So there is some deeper meaning for all of that. There is a reason for that. So first of all, like you said, we all should consider ourselves blessed and fortunate. But at the same time, uh, this eka bhakti, that is the one that we have to look at. Otherwise, it's like a stream that is let loose, and it is going asunder. There is no dam, no wall to direct the flow of the water. It is
What
like
did you say? There's a bhakti. I didn't get that.
eka bhakti,
Eka bhakti, right? Got it.
eka bhakti.
Yeah.
That you're just holding on. You hold on to whoever, Vasudeva, Krishna, whatever you call him.
Right.
You just hold on to that, and everything you do, you're keeping him in your inner bosom.
Mm-hmm.
So that is the karma yogi, right? That is what we have to evolve ourselves into.
Right.
A true karma yogi. So if we are able to do that, then we would have done a whole lot. Dr. Savita, I think, is even more evolved. So for her, I mean, she's so very sincere, and really, she's such an inspiration.
Yeah.
Listening to Brahma Jnana Vali Mala every morning and doing her japa and her meditation. She's so
Yeah.
Yeah.
totally. Therefore, she's in that space where she thinks even this is not really where am I going. So it's very natural for her to get this little question. So
Yeah.
that's wonderful.
Yeah. Again,
We all are the same. It's not that, but like you were saying that your mother do all the ritual puja, and the same, like when something is left, so I feel that something missing, something has missed, or sometimes the guilt also comes, like I did not do this. But that 24, I feel 24 hours are less. I need 48 hours in a day, because it's so the things to be done in the whole day is too much, and the time is less. I always feel this way, like it's um, like I study one topic of my own gynae. I attend, I listen to one webinar or something, so that I remain updated. It needs 1.5 or 2 hours. Then the kriya, the meditation, then puja, then OPD, and then studying this knowledge. So I don't find a single moment that I am not busy. It's the whole day, and sleeping from, like, I take a nap in the afternoon, like half an hour or so, and night I 5 to 6 hours. But still I'm not able to complete my this thing, what I think that I should have done this, I should have done this. There's still the lack of time. I feel that there's so much to be done, and the time is so less.
That's beautiful. But
You feel that incompleteness still. Doing all this, you still feel you are so incomplete. That sometimes that's why I was asking this question, like how like how to do all these things, and though the mind is steady, like, but still it gets it is still sometimes it gets some, like, some frustration type, or maybe some incomplete feeling that is there. So, but still,
Gurudev says,
I
no,
yeah.
slow down and cool down. So every time when you feel like this, "Okay, I'm not complete or something is incomplete," that time you take a pause. I think so. Because if it is giving frustration after doing so much thing, then what is the
No, basically not a frustration feeling. It's more of an incomplete feeling that something is still lacking. I have this feeling something is still to be known. Something like whatever like a time I spare, I always complete all these jobs, and then my mind is always in that you remaining in knowledge, reading all these is a bliss, and finishing my all type of duties or all work which has to be done. I just seek a moment that as soon as I finish, I sit with my books, or do my this thing. That that has grown over a period, like that lalak is there, like that you want to be with yourself and you be in that knowledge. That has evolved, and that has evolved with Nanaji's classes more, like from last 1 year since we are reading the Gita. It has evolved more, like it has evolved very much. Initially we were doing mechanically, but maybe the effect of knowledge is there, uh, that you want to know more and more, and you feel that the time is less and what much is to be done. So that feeling makes me like that incompleteness that is there. Otherwise, we are together from last, it's more than an year, and uh, this 1.5 hour, and though we don't know personally anyone, but there's a bond connected with each of us, like everyone. And I wait, I've this 1.5 hour is so precious to me that I don't leave it until unless some emergency is there. So it's a bond. Maybe though it's not, we can call anything, it's a soul connection or anything, but this time is so precious that I can't leave it. And I was just thinking when this will get over, like what will be like, what I feel a lots of like
Yeah,
so many.
I think so beautifully expressed, Dr. Savita. I think for that lack, that thing, maybe there is where Shraddha is required. Maybe Shraddhavan, that Shraddha, that what you're doing will take you where you have to be. Maybe that Shraddha will
Yeah, please.
soften that little restlessness, that incompleteness that you're having, and being
Shraddha is like,
gratitude.
Shraddha, like I am that type of a person that if you tell me that pick up a stone and you say that this is God, I have so
You'll have
much
Shraddha.
Shraddha that I will accept your words as such. I will not
Right,
question you at all.
right.
And because of that, my this thing, this habit also, people use me also, like they like, I never question, like if you are saying so, it's I accept it as truth. I don't question it. That is there. So that inquisitive or that uh, complaining maybe, or maybe that doubting thing is not there. Like, but still, I am very much confused that how what is the way where the evolution will be, or what is the right track where we can evolve, or we have the right path to seek. uh, I don't even want a moksha also. My aim of life is I want to clean myself as I was a child, nothing more. It's just cleaning
You're
of
very
my.
lucky.
Nothing
You're
more.
very fortunate, Dr. Savita. Gurudev has said, no, be with this restlessness. Very few people get this restlessness of the soul. So I guess that's where you are. You're very fortunate.
I don't know, like maybe the time, the kal has effect, or maybe, but still I want to, I just want to be a good human being. That's all. My aim is only that I want to just get rid of all the layers that I had gained from after childhood. You start getting the layers, just delayering myself basically.
Very beautiful. Thank you for
I
sharing all
wasted
of
so
that,
much
Dr.
time.
Savita.
I wasted so much time
No.
of the class.
You are, it's not time at all. All this is part of this. No, all this is, that is why we are here. We are all the Saha Brahmacharinaha. Like China's favorite verse is that, what is that? 1/4 you understand from the Guru. 1/4 you understand by your own self-study. 1/4 of this knowledge you understand when you discuss amongst like-minded students. And then 1/4 you will get it kala kramena. It comes with grace. So
Thank you
this
so much for
sharing,
listening. Yeah.
the sharing is important. It is not only inspirational, it is like all of us are in different states, no? Different stages of evolution. So we learn from one another and our understanding deepens. The clarity also dawns. That is the very basis for the reason for Manana is Shravana is fine. All of us can do, and we've done. Listening to Nana's lecture, the Nana's sessions, and reading ourselves. But this Manana is where you bring forth your doubts and your questions, and then you get a little deeper clarity. If I, from my perspective, compared to what I was last year, like you very rightly said, my understanding of Bhagavad Gita, and especially the Gita home study that we're doing it, doing it verse by verse, has certainly improved. Maybe there is still a lot of scope for greater clarity. But that is why Nana said, not just once, you have to do the complete 18 chapters 18 times. So we have a long way to go. So
Hope we get connected always like
yeah,
this.
we'll stay connected. It is all His grace, no? It is not so much our thing. It is His grace that has brought us all together. And let's pray that that continues.
Yeah, that is so beautiful. Wonderful sharing, Dr. Savita. I am so delighted to hear you. Dhanyavad for sharing. And that gave us the confirmation that we are going to continue till infinite, I believe. Dhanyavad.
Yeah.
For instance, my sister and all in Phoenix, Dr. Seema, they finished one cycle of Gita home study up to 18 chapters, and they've restarted again. Last month or so, they've restarted from chapter 1. So the cycle will continue. I think so. And we've started this because I was inspired by what they were doing. And it's all thanks to them. So this chain will continue. Like the other day, someone wanted on and off, there are requests that can you please add them to the group. So yeah, I think people requiring this knowledge will stay connected. Earlier, maybe 2-3 years ago, I would have been in a completely different frame of mind, saying for me then, everything was about Gurudev. Not that right now, nothing is about Gurudev. It is all about him, his words and everything. But at this point, I'm able to, let go of that. I call that fanaticism. He said, read, learn Bhagavad Gita. He did not say, learn it only from what I've told you. He just said, learn Bhagavad Gita. So that I'm able to go to Swami Dayananda's text, Gita Home Study, and do it, is for me, it is his word, it is his dictum that is actually directing me to do this. So that way, I don't have any doubt in my mind. I know there are people, some of my friends who have told, they said, no, we have Gurudev's Bhagavad Gita, we're just going to follow that. That's very, very nice. I'm not at all against that. But then this is for me being directed by Gurudev himself. That knowledge principle is directing you towards this. In fact, at some point, I have the notes that one of my friends, colleagues, Dr. Vinod Kochpule, they have had a Manana group as well. They have done notes from Gurudev's Bhagavad Gita sessions. So one of these days, maybe after we finish chapter 7 or 8, whenever, we'll go through that. We'll go through those notes as well.
I think lot of us, we're a blend, a mixture of where people on at different levels of growth. And from that standpoint, some who are a later entrants, who are new to this path, it would be better for them to stick only to what Gurudev says and not stand confused, etc. And some of us have evolved to a level where even if we listen to somebody else, we are not going to get confused. We are going to get more clarity. From that standpoint, it is okay for us. He has said, study Bhagavad Gita, as you said, and we are doing it. We are following his instructions. And whatever we have gone to Dayanand Saraswati's summary and all that is giving us simply more clarity. Like just listening to the translation of the verse from Sanskrit to English was the first reading. And then from there, we got the verse by verse translation. And now we are doing a whole summary. So we are evolving. And everything is okay. Maybe because those people who are new get confused. And then that is why for them it is better to stay with Guruji for some time till they evolve to a certain level, but then they are not confused.
Very right. That evolution happened for me when I started attending Swami Charna's the Gita sessions. The very fact that Charna himself was giving Gita sessions meant that Gurudev himself is opening it up. It is like this person who is drowning in water and he's praying to God, please God, come and save me. And he's waiting for that God to come. He misses the sight of that log that is there. Instead of holding on to the log, he's waiting for God himself to come. So for all of us, this Gita sessions and all that we've had is like that log. He himself has given it to us. So it is up to us to understand. And like you said, not just hold on to the fact that it has to be only from one particular source. China also had mentioned the way to learn Bhagavad Gita is to go verse by verse and read the Pratipadartha. He had very clearly said, it's not enough if you just listen to Bhagavad Gita. You go to the verse, do the Pratipadartha, understand the meaning, and then go ahead. So this Gita text for us is such a boon that way.
Can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead.
Only because of Chayana, I attended that sessions in the lockdown. And after that only, I felt so much love for Bhagavad Gita to learn more and more about it. Otherwise, I was not able to chant also in a Sanskrit very clearly. So it is only because somebody, means by the grace it has come. Maybe there may be a seed, but that sprouting requires a time. So it happened, just happened.
Very right.
So
So we do not, yeah, go ahead, Darsiji.
In Maharashtra, we don't have English speaking volunteers or would-be teachers. And if you remember, to become a teacher, you would have had to listen to Ashtavakra Gita twice. That was earlier the rule. Then these people, when they used to come here for their, it's not an examination, but they would be grilled on Narad Bhakti Sutra, Ashtavakra Gita and all. So have you heard it? They say, हमको अंग्रेजी कहाँ आती है? गुरुजी तो अंग्रेजी में बोलते हैं, हमको कुछ समझ में ही नहीं आता है. So then that was, like, okay, you can listen to, there are books available in Hindi and Marathi and all that. And then the translations also took place.
Yeah.
So teachers could not become teachers because they could not listen to Ashtavakra Gita because they didn't understand English, which was not their fault. So it's all right to listen to, so long as you're not confused, that's all.
Which is true. You don't need to feel you're disloyal to someone when you're listening to knowledge from another source. For me, knowledge is, there's only one source. There are only different ways of expressing it. So, and all this is in line with Adi Shankara, and this is what Gurudev also holds on to, isn't it? He's propounding whatever he's giving us is that lineage. So there is nothing to feel awkward about or feel disloyal. I just thought I will read these two types of punya again today, and then we'll go to chapter 6. There are two types of punya. Can you all see the screen?
Yes, we can see.
Yeah. One gives wealth, pleasures, comfort, parentage, etc. For this, you do not require any culture or inner growth. There is another type of punya which is purely spiritual, and that punya karma expresses itself no matter where one is born. Even if a person has a difficult beginning, it does not deter him at all in his seeking. Those who have this type of punya karma, those sukritins, worship Ishvara, Mam Bhajanta, Ma Bhajante. They recognize Ishvara. So the first part of the punya is all those that are ritualistic and all. There's no inner culture, no growth required there. There is a certain puja to be done. You just do it, you get the result. And so it gives you wealth, pleasures, comfort, parentage, maybe even a birth in heaven. But this other type of punya is purely spiritual. And that expresses itself no matter where one is born. So I think this punya that you get as a jignasu comes into this aspect, where you are evolving. There is that inner growth, inner culturing happening, where you're asking questions as to what is this? Why? What is the purpose of my life? Which is why Gurudev says when someone asks, Gurudev, what is the purpose of my life? He says, hold on to that question. It's a very important aspect. So you hold on to that. So should we go to chapter 6? So Krishna then points out that the person who recognizes this Swarupa Sukha never comes out of it because there is nothing better to be gained. The previous paragraph was, is there a better gain than self-knowledge? So towards that, in the end, this is what Krishna says. Yam labdva cha aparam labham manyate na adhikam tataha. This gain in the form of self-knowledge is also called yoga. It is not a challenge that, once achieved and no longer holding your interest, has to be followed by another challenge. Looking for greater and greater challenges is based on the desire to prove oneself, to prove that one exists, for which one has to do something adventurous, something different, something new, something challenging. Only then does one feel alive and not like an old piece of furniture. This feeling is what keeps people going, in fact. Because they have to live within themselves, a challenge can become so important that they sacrifice everything for it. If a person does not feel that he or she is a somebody, naturally, the person has to create some challenge or other in order to feel, I exist, I am somebody, etc. This is what keeps that rajas going on and on and on. Because you never feel complete within. And you want to feel somebody, you feel like you're existing, so you take one challenge after the other. This is where that slow down, cool down is so important. The resolution of all seeking. Having gained Atma, then, would I still have to create new challenges for myself? No, because gaining Atma is a gain, gaining which there is no better gain. The person does not move from the truth of oneself. Tattvataha na chalati, meaning that the seeking after challenges is resolved. This resolution is the gain, in fact. All seeking can be reduced to self-confusion. Therefore, the resolving of the self-confusion is the resolving of the very seeking itself. In this resolution, the seeker and the sought become one and the same, which was what Krishna meant in verse 22, when he said, and having gained that Atma, one does not think that there is any other better gain. Yam labdva cha aparam labham manyate na adhikam tataha. And if a big tragedy should occur, what happens to the person? Krishna covers that also. He says, firmly established in that Atma, he or she is not disturbed even by great sorrow. Yasmin sthitaha dukkhena guruna apina vichalyate. Therefore, there is no question of getting out of Atma. No external situation is going to affect the person, nor will the person become tired of himself or herself and get out. Moving away from something can take place either by slipping away from it, or by withdrawing from it, or by something else coming and disturbing you. But fullness cannot be disturbed in any way. Neither the world nor anything else can disturb fullness. Fullness accommodates every event that can take place in one's life. Also, fullness is not something that one can get out of because it is oneself. Such a beautiful explanation of that. Yasmin sthitaha dukkhena guruna api na vichalyate. He is that fullness himself. So everything is included. Good, bad, right, wrong, extreme sorrow, extreme joy, all of that is included in that fullness. So there is no way he's going to be disturbed by even the greatest of sorrows, even the most sorrowful event. He's not going to get disturbed. Therefore, knowing all that has been discussed in the previous 3 verses, there is no coming back from the sukha that is Atma. The gain of it, the joy of it, the fullness of it, the freedom of it, all that has been pointed out is called yoga. Yoga Sangitam, Krishna says. Thus, he gave us a new way of looking at the word yoga, which is dukkha samyoga viyogam, right? So that association with sorrow, dissociation with the association with sorrow is yoga according to this verse. Another definition for yoga. The root yuj from which the word yoga is derived has 2 meanings, yojana and nirodha. Yojana means connecting or uniting 2 things. Thus, when 2 things are put together, it is yoga. Whereas nirodha means control, stopping, mastering, which is how Patanjali defined yoga in the second sutra of the Yoga Shastra, Yogas Chitta Vritti Nirodha, meaning yoga is the mastery of one's thinking processes, indicating that yoga is a discipline by itself. Since both meanings for the word yoga are used in the Gita, we have to see from the context whether the word is used in the sense of union or control. Here, originally, there seems to be union of the mind with Atma. The mind contemplates upon Atma, therefore Atma becomes the Dheya, the object of contemplation. The mind is the one that becomes united with the object of contemplation. The mind is the one that becomes united with the object of contemplation, Atma, and the attempt to unite the two is called yoga, which is the sense we generally get from the word yoga. It implies two different things coming together, just as two people come together in marriage, a connection, sambandha of some kind, whatever the nature of the connection may be. What is joined together can also fall apart. Now, whenever two things come together, there is a tendency for them to fall apart also. Therefore, they have to be kept together somehow. If two people are involved, the tendency is for them to move away from each other, each one going off in opposite directions. Similarly, two pieces of material tied together will stay together only as long as that which binds them lasts. Once the binding factor wears out, the two pieces of material will fall apart. Here too, the mind can move away from Atma if it is attracted by some external object. It can be disturbed by a vritti, a thought, for which there is an object, for which you are given senses, etc. And if your senses do not operate, your memory is always there. Your memory is good enough to provide you with the whole world. Because of memory, the mind will never find itself wanting in terms of objects to think about. Therefore, the sense of connection between the mind and Atma conveyed by the word yoga makes it seem that the mind contemplating on Atma will come away from Atma. Because the word yoga has this intrinsic problem, Krishna redefines it here in an opposite sense. This redefinition is called viparita lakshana, meaning that the word is used in its limited sense and then the limitations are knocked off by redefining it. In fact, because words have to be used, the whole teaching is like this. A particular word is used and then its limitations are knocked off to reveal its absolute sense, which is Atma. This is similar to that Badhaya, what is that? Karanyam, right? So that tree and that stump, that pot and the blue pot and this thing. So it is, you're negating it. So similarly here it is the Viparita Lakshana. Yoga actually means union. Here the union of the mind and Atma. So what Swamiji is saying, what comes together can also separate. So Krishna therefore is redefining yoga as not union, but he's redefining it as dissociation from association. Until now, Krishna uses the word yoga in its limited sense. And here he knocks off the limitations. In fact, he knocks off the very word itself by presenting yoga in a different way. He defines yoga as samyoga viyoga. Samyoga has the same meaning as yoga, union. The prefix sam, conveying the sense of being very well united. When the prefix sam is replaced with the prefix vi, the resultant word is viyoga, which conveys exactly the opposite meaning, that of dissociation. Samyoga means association, and wherever there is association, there can be dissociation, which is the meaning of viyoga. In either case, the word yoga remains, one prefix being replaced by the other to create the opposite meaning. For this reason, prefixes, upasargas, are very important in Sanskrit. In English also, prefixes can be used in this way, as in declinable and indeclinable. For example, where a negative prefix is added is used to arrive at the opposite meaning of the word. Similarly, the prefix V added to yoga points out the negative aspect or the absence of yoga. In this way, Krishna is saying that the yoga we're talking about here is more a dissociation than an association. All that was said before in terms of yoga, how to sit, how to live one's life, etc., all the disciplines that were advised earlier are for the sake of which yoga? For the yoga being discussed here in the previous 3 verses. May one know that tam vidyat. May one know that yoga is what? As dukkha samyoga viyoga, as the dissociation from the association with sorrow. This is what Krishna calls yoga here. And this is the yoga that is to be known. Yoga sangitam tam vidyat. Association with dukkha means association with pain, with sorrow. Anything undesirable is connected with dukkha. There is dukkhena samyogaha. And this union or association with dukkha is no ordinary association. It is a very well entrenched association. Because this association with sorrow is not ordinary, Krishna uses the word samyoga here. No one wants to have dukkha, but the yoga with it, the union with it is so complete that although you want to get out of it, you cannot. Even though no one wants sorrow, everyone is subject to it. Since we do not want to be sad, why do we become sad? It is not that one wants to get into a state of sadness, but then there is yoga with sadness, and that yoga seems to be some yoga, a connection that is very difficult to pull out of. In fact, you cannot pull out. There is no way of pulling out. I think we'll stop here today. If anyone wants to share their takeaways, please do. We'll continue with why is sorrow so well entrenched tomorrow. So it is Krishna is redefining yoga here as not union of the mind with Atma, but of samyoga viyoga, which is dissociation from the association with sorrow. We'll take that up tomorrow. Om Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat Shri Krishna Arpanamastu. Jai Gurudev.